Alex Honnold climbed Taipei 101 free solo in Taiwan on January 24, 2026. However, what he is most widely known for is his ropeless free solo ascent of El Capitan in the United States. Climbing El Capitan takes about 4 hours in total, which means that during those 4 hours, any single mistake would result in instant death. His climbing partner, Tommy Caldwell, once said that this is like competing in an Olympic event where if you don't win the gold medal, you meet death. Alex's ascent of El Capitan later became the subject of a documentary film called Free Solo, which eventually won the Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature. This means that he is not only an elite climber, but also an Oscar-winning one. Naturally, people became very curious about how Alex's brain differs from that of ordinary people. Why doesn't he feel fear? Neuroscientists once conducted a famous fMRI study on Alex. The core of this study was to observe how the brain's threat detection system responds to danger. In the laboratory, researchers showed Alex a series of highly stimulating images that normally provoke intense fear or disgust. In the brains of most people, these images instantly activate the amygdala, triggering the fight or flight response and causing physiological reactions, such as a rapid heartbeat and sweaty palms. However, Alex's brain scans revealed a shocking contrast. His amygdala showed almost no activation. This indicated that stimuli, which usually cause fear or revulsion, produced almost no emotional response in him. This discovery led to 2 scientific explanations. The first explanation is that Alex's brain may require extremely intense stimulation to experience fear. This would explain why he can remain calm while free soloing at heights of over 900 meters. Because to his brain, the situation still does not register as a crisis. His score on sensation-seeking scales is several times higher than that of the average person. The second, more favorable explanation is that his amygdala is not insensitive at all. Instead, his prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for rational planning and decision-making, may possess an extraordinary level of control. When fear signals appear, his rational brain can intervene at lightning speed, suppressing emotional responses and allowing him to think calmly and calculate precisely. In fact, Alex's life story is not particularly dramatic. His achievements are entirely the result of discipline and training. Alex himself does not like being labeled as fearless, because he emphasizes that this state is achieved through deliberate practice rather than innate fearlessness. Most athletes use visualization training to imagine success, such as defeating an opponent. Alex's visualization training, however, includes facing failure and death. During the 2 years he spent preparing for El Capitan, he would lie in his van, close his eyes, and repeatedly simulate the climbing route in his mind. He did not only imagine successful moves, he also forced himself to imagine slipping, the sensation of his fingers losing contact, and even the final outcome, death. This extreme psychological training resembles exposure therapy in psychology. By repeatedly experiencing the worst-case scenario in a safe environment, he gradually became desensitized to the fear of death. When he was actually on the wall, those terrifying scenarios had already played out in his mind countless times, so his brain no longer treated them as sudden shocks. This allowed him to maintain absolute focus. Alex's view on risk is that although the consequences of free soloing are fatal, as long as preparation and physical training reduce the probability of failure to as close to 0 as possible, the activity becomes rational and executable. He even compares it to driving. Car accidents can be fatal, but people still drive because they trust their skills and believe they can keep the risk within acceptable limits. As he puts it, the goal is to make the final ascent feel ordinary rather than crazy. When he finally free-soloed El Capitan, he actually felt that it was less frightening than many of his previous practice climbs, because of the immense preparation he had invested. On one occasion, he even climbed while his foot was injured and in a cast, because he feared that taking too long off would cause his climbing feel to deteriorate. These behaviors reveal his impeccable rationality and self-discipline. To understand why he developed this personality, we need to look at his upbringing. His father was a community college professor who was very quiet and reserved. When Alex was 5 years old, his father took him to a climbing gym, beginning his climbing journey. Throughout Alex's childhood, his father spent countless hours belaying him at climbing gyms. Belaying means managing the safety rope to prevent a climber from falling. However, their communication revolved mostly around technical details, rather than emotional expression. This silent companionship taught Alex to connect through action rather than words. His mother, on the other hand, was extremely strict, which cultivated his pursuit of perfection and constant self-optimization. Alex mentioned in the documentary that his mother would only say, "You need to do better," and never, "That's good enough." Notably, his mother also began climbing at the age of 60 and became the oldest woman in the world to successfully climb El Capitan, demonstrating the family's inherited traits of resilience and challenge-seeking. Alex later enrolled at UC Berkeley to study civil engineering, a prestigious academic program. He was highly intelligent and academically capable, but he found himself unhappy due to a lack of passion for engineering. He frequently skipped classes to go climbing at local gyms. At the age of 19, he dropped out of college and began traveling to climb, living out of an old van for 9 years and driving nearly 200,000 miles. His lifestyle was extremely minimal, allowing him to focus entirely on climbing. On April 1, 2008, he successfully free-soloed Moonlight Buttress in Utah. Without any ropes, he completed the 365-meter vertical crack route in just 83 minutes. He described the experience as being as relaxing as a walk in the park. Because the news was released on April Fool's Day, many people initially thought it was a joke. This ascent marked the turning point that transformed Alex from an unknown climber into a legend. Just a few months later, he free-soloed Half Dome in Yosemite, a wall approximately 600 meters high. This climb posed a true test for him. Near the top, at a section close to what is known as Thank God Ledge, he got stuck. Standing on a tiny foothold, the thought flashed through his mind that he might die. In his diary, he recorded that he hesitated there, his legs shaking. But he did not let fear paralyze him. He quickly adjusted his breathing, stripped emotion from the moment, and committed to the next move. He eventually reached the summit. Yet after topping out, he did not feel joy. Instead, he felt a heavy sense of having narrowly escaped death. This experience made him realize that he needed a more systematic level of preparation, became the turning point that led Alex to develop his philosophy of extreme preparation. After that, he went on to free solo the Phoenix in Yosemite and El Sendero Luminoso, the Shining Path, in Mexico. Step by step, he pushed the difficulty of free solo climbing closer to the absolute limits of human ability. Finally, on June 3, 2017, he attempted a challenge that many would later describe as the moon landing moment of human athletic history, the free solo ascent of El Capitan, standing at approximately 919 meters tall. This was not something he decided to do on a whim one morning. He prepared for 2 full years. He climbed the route with ropes more than 50 times, memorizing the sequence, texture, and body positioning of thousands of holds, until the entire route was ingrained into his muscle memory. Among climbers, the most dangerous and critical section is known as Pitch 23. Here lies a move called the karate kick. At more than 600 meters above the ground, Alex had to make a large, committing step, essentially a powerful kick, to shift his center of gravity and reach for the next hold. In that moment, even the slightest misplacement of balance would mean death. What made it even more terrifying was that during training, he had fallen at this exact spot multiple times. As a result, this section became the greatest psychological burden for him. Even the filming crew struggled with it. At one point, they could barely bring themselves to watch the camera monitors. They understood better than anyone that if Alex made even the smallest mistake, what they would witness would be a human being falling to his death, right before their eyes. Yet what left the deepest impression was not how heroic he looked after reaching the summit. After topping out, he behaved as if nothing extraordinary had happened. There was no screaming, no euphoric celebration. He simply showed a shy smile and said quietly, "I'm happy." Then he picked up the phone and called his girlfriend to let her know he was safe. When an interviewer asked him what he planned to do next, he replied that he was originally scheduled to train on the fingerboard that day, so he would still go and do his fingerboard session. Laughing, he added, "Most people would probably take a day off after free soloing El Capitan." He then said calmly, "But I'm used to training the next day, and today just happens to be a training day." This exchange became legendary. He had just completed one of the greatest feats in human history, and immediately turned around and talked about sticking to his normal training routine. Through his actions, Alex Honnold demonstrated what truly impeccable discipline looks like.